Hello everyone. Welcome back to Growed Up. I am your host Fernando, and this is the show where myself, talks to you, my friend, about all things related to adulting. So we compare our childhood perspectives of what adulthood would be to what it really is now that we're actually in the game. And let me tell you guys, there's this idea, that adults or certain people have it all together. Listen, guys, I don't think we all have it all together. No, I know we don't have it all together. So today we're going to talk about the pressure of having it all together as an adult. And I think this is a topic that we can all relate to. The idea that by now we should all have everything in order, especially if you're over 35, in your 30s, crawling towards the 40s. I know that pressure, that pressure of, hey, by now I thought I would have this thing together. By now I'd have all of that together. Listen, it's not the one, So today we're going to just dissect a little bit, we're going to vent. That's what we're gonna do. We're gonna vent, like I told you last time. I want to vent with you, okay? So, but before we get in, please remember to like right now. Just click like where you are and subscribe to the podcast. This is Growed Up, and it is on YouTube under Neon Bloom Studio alongside The Entanglement. So Growed Up will come out on Tuesdays, and The Entanglement will come out on Friday. So every single detail about the show that you need in terms of like how to get a hold of us, how to follow us, and all of that stuff, it's all in the show notes below. So I'm going to get into it. But for those of you who don't really know me, my name is Fernando. I am a visually impaired mama, wife, I'll say entrepreneur, I don't know. I have like a little bit, you see, just already dive in. Like I have a little bit of a about the whole entrepreneurship. But listen, I'm out here in the hustle. But I'm a podcast producer. I run Neon Bloom. And alongside many other little skills, So on this show, I like to... The main reason actually I started Growed Up was to like actually talk to friends and just like other professionals about like how, we are experiencing adulthood and just kind of like dissecting concepts of adulthood that we didn't really expect as children. So last week we spoke about purpose and duty and fulfillment, and a friend of mine sent me a voice note about whether or not, the mere fact that I shared with you guys that I wanted to be a pediatrician, but then after I lost my sight, becoming a pediatrician or becoming like in a GP is no longer an option. And then I thought psychology and, the rest is issue. But you guys can go back to the previous Growed Up episode, just kind of like get a little bit more of an idea of what that is. But her question was, what if that experience of me losing my sight, right, and losing the North Star of mine that was like, when I grow up, I'm going to become a pediatric doctor. And that me losing that opportunity is maybe what gave me a pessimistic view on purpose, And I thought that was a good question because, and I also wanted to open with that question in terms of like, going into this whole idea of having everything together. And the thing is, right, in my defense, could that experience have been the reason why I seem to be so pessimistic about concepts like purpose and things that are like, a little bit more, not so much on the, that are more like in, optimistic, that optimistic worldview, that thing of like, things will get better, every dog has his day, like, those positive affirmations that we tend to to subscribe to, and I don't for the most part. I think certain things I say out of like habit, it is culturally unacceptable to be a negative person, and also I don't want to be a negative person all the time. So sometimes you dabble in optimism, you dabble a little bit in positivity, but I bring like these kind of like concepts from a different perspective, because I find that like we tend to not fully like explore the concepts, because there's that fear of like seeming negative, but then on the other side it seems like you're also putting other people's energy down, right? But like I say all the time, I'm not a philosopher, but this is kind of like it's a philosophical exercise. It's nice for us to kind of like explore other points of view surrounding one concept. And did me losing my eyesight and not being able to become a pediatrician have an effect on my view about purpose? I'll say no, because up until a few years back, I still felt like I had a purpose, right? Up until recently, where I feel like purpose is so paralyzing. You know what I mean? So I wouldn't say that experience particularly, and I know that I did answer her, but I also sat back and reflected a little bit more on that point. But I wouldn't say that like losing my dream profession, or the hopes of living in my dream profession, had that big of an effect on whether or not I believe in purpose or not. I think that my belief or my view surrounding purpose has more to do with like my, say, spirituality or lack thereof, and my experiences, especially like throughout my adulthood, especially with like, if you suffer from any disability, right, how hard it is to like fully be able to explore your options professionally. It's very difficult, because like we have to convince the sighted or the able-bodied, let me say, that we are capable of doing things that they're also capable of. But the problem is that we do things differently, and we don't like different. People don't like different. So to convince someone that my way is efficient, is just different, is not easy. So going through the struggle of like trying to find my place in society as a contributing member of society is what led me down the path of like exploring what exactly is my purpose in this world. And then I came down to the conclusion, right, that purpose is almost counterintuitive to my belief system, which is, I guess, agnostic at this point, if I may word it that way. I think atheist is a very strong word, but that's a whole other topic for another day. But it doesn't really, but again, even with being agnostic, right, purpose kind of fits into that. And that's why I just don't like atheism as a concept in a way. So that's why I sometimes also have a hard time identify as such, but I'm not a theist. Let me put it in that way. Not anti-theism, but I'm not a practicing theist. I am not a practicing spiritual person. You know what I'm saying? So these concepts now that are attached in my opinion, right, to like spirituality for the most part, purpose is given unto you by a greater power. So for somebody who does not really believe in like a greater power, where does purpose fall in, right? And that's again where we come down to the whole duty thing, but then the whole duty thing kind of takes the joy out of life. And my new motto, guys, is like, yo, I want to enjoy life. Okay. I really want to enjoy life. So just doing my duty for the sake of this is my responsibility. No. So I'm exploring the idea that maybe a better focus for me would be fulfillment, pursuing a fulfilling life, a fulfilling, just being surrounded by people who fulfill me. Okay, being surrounded by things that fulfill me, that make me feel like I enjoyed every single step, every single hour of the day, every single minute of each day was just tasty. So that's kind of like where I'm at. So basically, yeah, it's not so much that I lost the ability to exercise what I thought would be my career, my dream career, but so much so that like my worldview has shifted a lot since then, and I have to now redefine certain concepts for myself, which leads me to today's freaking question, which is not really a question, but the idea that by now adults or you should have or you should figure it out, and the pressure behind having things figured out. Why I even kind of like went into the whole revising last week's episode was more so because like if whether it's fulfillment, duty, purpose, whatever we are attaching to, the point is that not having figured out any of these things, not having figured out what your purpose is, not having figured out what your duty or responsibilities are, not having figured out what gives you a sense of fulfillment, kind of makes you panic as well, right? Because now it's like, okay, I'm old, I got kids, I have a husband, I got a household, or even if not a career or kids or a household, but like you have things, right? But you don't know what you're doing. And one thing that was very fascinating for me is that like obviously as kids we always looked at our parents and every adult around us and we're like, oh wow, when I grow up I wanna be just like them. When I grow up I wanna like, wow, like you kind of like, well, for me I'd say that I attributed having your shit together to like having a house, having a car, having a family, having kids, having a job, you know what I mean? So it's like those are the things that kind of like put you in that position of like, oh, okay, cool, you have your stuff together, right? So I always felt like, wow, my parents know what they're doing. And so more so like when my dad started his business and things were going well and you're like, wow, like being an adult is so cool. Like you just know things. And then I felt that way for a very long time, even into my adulthood, where I would look at other people, I would look at other peers, and then I'd be like, whoa, dude, like that guy has everything sorted. Like they know what direction their business is going. They know what direction like the household is going. They like, when you see these people and you're like 25 and you see like another 25-year-old that's like sorted. They bought their house, they figure their shit out, and you're like, damn man, I wish I could sit down with this person and talk to them and like hear like, what did you do? Like, how did you get here? And then I grew furthermore to my 30s. And then I started to look at like, I don't know what happened, self-production. Hey, producing yourself, guys. Like, I'm even like recording and hoping that everything goes well. Like, anyways, but like, yeah, you grow. And I realized the further more into my 30s that I got. And oh, there it is. I don't know. Okay. Anyways. The furthermore I got into my 30s, right? Now into my mid 30s, and I started to now have conversations with my elders, with my parents in their 60s, and now my dad is in his 70s. And then I'm like, oh, we are all freelancers, Baba. We are all freelancers, and I'll tell you exactly when it was that I first realized that, Baba, we are freelancing here. It was the first time either of my parents like spoke to me about their like just their personal. Okay, I don't know, something is going on with my lighting, so I'm just hoping that in post this will look good. But anyways, but yeah, like when my parents, especially when my dad came to me with something and I spoke, nah? Like my dad came with something and he spoke to me and he told me what he was going through, and I spoke words, nah, of wisdom, me. And you know what? My dad listened. My dad was like, yeah, I see what you mean. I was like, oh, my father, my Fernando, my one and only, my hero, the love of my life. He doesn't have this down. So who am I to think that I'm special to have this down? But like, that was so fascinating for me because again, right, it's like, I went from like, even like comparing like other people, you know, who are like maybe closer in age to me. I'm trying to wash light into here. I'm not happy with this, but anyways, forward we go. But my dad, like, he's just the guy, you know what I'm saying? My dad is that guy, you know? And for him to even give me the light of day and like listen to what I have to say and internalize it and consider it and apply it. That's when I was like, okay, you know what? This whole idea of having things figured out is very like, I mean, I'm pretty sure I'm not the first one to have come to this conclusion that it's very like backwards almost, right? And it's almost like it's a concept that we all need to like divorce from. But the idea also, there's something attractive to me about the idea that there's somebody out there who knows what they're doing. They're just not sharing. They just don't want all of us to know. So they choose to keep it to themselves, and then now we have to decide whether or not we're going to hunt them down and take them in for questioning or what, you know. But at the same time, like, I don't think there is so much that we don't have. I don't think that we don't have it all figured out. I think that our problem, it's not that we don't have it figured out. Our problem is that we have pressured ourselves into having things figured out by a certain time frame, right? And it could be anything. Like, I even think of like goal setting. It's one of those things, you know, like and I know sometimes I'm a little bit too like black and white. I don't leave room for nuance in my worldview. But like, you know, when we set goals, it's like, okay, in the next 6 months, I want to have achieved 1, 2, and 3. And you're like very practical and specific about where you want to be in the next 6 months. And you get to the end of those 6 months and then like your goals are nowhere close to, you know what I'm saying? So like, it's that time frame concept that I think like fucks most of us over, because like we don't take into account that things in the middle here, you know, there are things out here that could go south, you know. But also, if these things that are going south, you don't know what they are. You cannot predict, you know, what is going to derail you from the trajectory and from your plans and all of that stuff. So we kind of like hyper focus on getting to the end goal, and we hyper focus in wanting to like just have this done like perfectly and in record time and all of that stuff, that we don't take into account that in the middle of the road, you know, we may encounter like freaking potholes, a traffic cop who wants to take our money. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're just things that happen. And I think that for the most part, we know what we need to do. We kind of understand this whole thing to an extent. You know, I think that having it all figured out, we kind of do. We know that we got to pay our bills. We know that we have to make money. We know that we have to take care of our loved ones. We know that we have to take care of ourselves. You know what I mean? I think, like, what more could we need to have figured out other than knowing the things that we need to do, right? So we know what we need to do. The how, I guess, is the problem, but we are, for the most part, able to succeed in the how. You know that you're supposed to take care of yourself in this way. You know that you're supposed to take care of your loved one in this way. You know that you're supposed to find a job that way. Whether you get there or not, that's a whole other thing. But that's not really a reflection on you, right? That's just like you are unsuccessful in your method, right? And I feel like having it figured out is such a definite idea that I feel like at the end of the day, if you have everything figured out, then what are you living for, right? Because then you have it all done. You have it all sorted out. You got it figured out. Then you're just going to get up and walk up the stairs, right? So this concept it's fascinating because we all want to walk around feeling like we know what we're doing. But we do for the most part. It's just that when we fail, we feel like we don't know what we're doing because we don't know what we're doing wrong. We don't know how to correct. We don't know where we went wrong, you know? So I think it's more of a matter of like thinking more about the end, the journey, right? I know it's a little bit cliche kind of like, but think more about the journey, like okay, I need to get from point A to point B. Okay, I need to make sure that, okay, I'm starting my company now. I need to make sure that my company is profitable, right? I can tell you right now, if you go on YouTube or whatever, there's a blueprint somewhere of what you need to do, right? Like there's somewhere a blueprint of what you need to do. And if you just apply like consistency, you'll get somewhere, right? So like those things where you like look into what is the how to get to that thing, you know? Or unless maybe again I'm doing that thing of like contradicting myself, that the point is that the figuring out or the having it figured out is figuring out what you're doing. Like it's the journey that you're kind of trying to figure out. You don't have direction. You don't know whether you're going left, you're going right. So that too is one of those things where it's like there's no way to know, right? There's no way to know because there's so many pathways to get to the same outcome. There's so many ways to do the same thing that you can never really know what is like the best course of action. And I mean this because, or in a sense that sometimes even if you follow somebody else's like footsteps to a T, right? It won't work out for you the same way that it worked out for them because they have something else that you might not have, or you have something that they don't have, and that's what worked in their advantage. You know what I mean? So it's like I think it's more important to focus on being proactive. Let's try and focus more on being proactive. So meaning that do something, you know? Do something. Make peace with the fact that we don't all have this thing figured out. And also, like, what does that even look like? Like, I know to them I'm proper rambling. I'm like rambling, okay? I'm not like, because again, I don't have this shit figured out, you know? But it is a point that we need to address, that we are very stressed about this idea that, like, life has come this far, or I have come this far in life and I don't know what I'm doing, But you know how to cook, you know how to wash a car, you know how to, clean and stuff like that. So you know something, right? And I feel like we also take for granted the fact that a lot of the stuff that, like, affects whether or not we feel like we have it figured out is out of our control. There's a lot of factors that are not like that are not within our control. Like, we cannot really know to what extent. Like, you could actually even do everything and somebody else holds their fate in your hand. You can apply, you can pay for your CV to be, like, professionally done. You can apply on time. You can follow the entire protocol, right? But it's not up to you. It's not up to you. And you are probably one of those people who know that, like, I'm not a starter. I'm a follower. I'm not like a business person. I prefer to have a corporate job. I prefer to be hired and be told what to do. You got that figured out. You know it. But now South Africa is saying, no, we're not hiring nobody. So, like, you will feel like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know if I'm coming or going. But you're doing everything that you should be doing by the book. And I think that maybe we can try to, like, okay, if I were to, like, do, let's say, actionable steps, if you were to, like, what actionable steps should I take to feel like I have my life figured out, to feel like I have adulthood figured out, right? I think it comes down to, again, figuring out where you want to be, where do you see yourself, vision board people, like, where do you need to be, kind of like have that clear sense of direction. And why I say vision board people, because I'm not a vision board person, guys. I'm not a vision board person. I'm not a journaling person. I'm not a goal setting person, okay? And that does not make me better. That just really makes me Bona. It's not good. It is not good. It's not. I wish I could, but yeah, it's not me, But if it's you, you know that I want a house, I want a dog, I want a car, you know which car you want, where you want to live. You want to live in Cape Town, in Durban, you want to live in Mpumalanga, you know where you want to go. Right? You put it on your vision board. You want a car, you want a Audi, you want a Mercedes, BMW, you want a Tesla. You put it on your vision board. You want a dog, you want a Jack Russell, you want a Labrador, you want a pit bull, you want a bulldog, you want the queen's dog. You put it on your vision board. You want a swimming pool in your house. You want it to be square, or round, or rectangle, triangle, infinite. You put it in your vision board. Now this is what I want to be. That's where I want to be. Now, what do I need to do to be there? How much money do I need to be there? Do I need millions? Do I need 100,000? Do I even need that many millions? Maybe I don't need that much millions. Maybe I need a few 100,000 and then I got my house. Now you have a goal and you move towards that. Now you're like, I like this idea also of, like, when you set your goals, like especially monetary goals, that you define the amount of money you want. Like, you say, I want 50,000 in the next 2 months. And then you know what you need to do to get 50,000 in the next 2 months. Are you going to sell drugs? Are you going to OnlyFans? I don't know. It's up to you, but you know how much money you want. And then you got it figured out, my friend. Do you see how quick that is? It's simple. It's simple. Guys. We have this thing figured out. It's just that, like, it's hard, man, to look and move in this world and feel like, you know, you've given it all the thought that you had. You look around you and then you see people that are like ahead of you, because a lot of the pressure also comes from like you looking around you and seeing like, oh my God, my friend is living there. They are driving this. They do that. They do this, right? But I want to tell you, let me tell you, don't fall for this trap of comparison. Comparison, what is that saying? Comparison is the killer of joy. Nah, comparison is the killer of joy, right? But the best one is assumptions is the mother of all fuck ups, because you are assuming that that person has it all figured out based on where they are, like, you know, structured, where they are sitting, where they are living, right? You're assuming that based on what they have or how they come forth to the world. I don't know where my accent is coming from. How they come forth to the world. You're assuming that they have it all figured out. And it's an assumption. And there is where you fuck up. You need to figure out first what you want, because sometimes you look at somebody, you're comparing yourself to somebody, and then you realize that, oh, actually, I don't want that thing that they have. You just feel left out because they have something that you don't have. But it might not be a thing that you want to have. So what do you want? What do you want? Okay? That's the first thing. Once you figured out, once you know what you want, then, my friend, you have it all figured out. Now the rest is just, you know what, putting in the work, putting in the hours, putting in the time, you know? And then you can figure it out. But like, for as long as you don't know what you want, you will not have it done. You always feel left behind, you know? And again, going back to the story with my dad, the mere fact that like somebody in their late 60s could come to me in their early 30s and listen to my advice, you know, it speaks to also the difference of life experiences. It speaks to also sometimes people are moving with you know, when you are like, you know, as an artist, right? Like, and you would write a song or start to paint a picture or something, and there comes a time where like what you're seeing you just don't like, or like when you make music you don't like what you hear. It just, everything just sounds like shit, right? And you kind of need to step away from the piece and have somebody else come and listen to the thing, and with and somebody else's perspective might ignite something in you in that moment, right? So sometimes we get like stuck in doing the thing in that loop, or in moving in that way that's like in this is how I do things, this is how I do things, that you don't get further newer perspective, you don't get a different perspective. And that's where you get stuck in that loop, because you are so convinced that you know what you're doing, or I have this right and my way is the highway, and you don't give yourself the opportunity to speak to someone. Or rather, when you do finally give yourself the opportunity to speak to someone and hear somebody else's perspective, then you kind of like get like, oh, okay, these are fresh eyes. This is a fresh perspective, right? This is something that I didn't consider. It's an angle that I didn't, look into. Not to say that the person you're consulting knows more, but they have a better idea. They have an outside perspective of what you are going through. So if you feel that way, if you feel stuck in your loop and you feel like, I don't have my things figured out, I'm under pressure, I don't know what to do, talk to the people around you. Talk to people who see you hustle. Talk to people who see you grind. They might be able to say, you know what, I see you've been doing 1, 2, and 3, but did you consider 1, 2, and 3, right? So who said we don't know things? We know things, man. We know things, man. It's just that sometimes, you get stuck in the whole, I am doing this thing and this is how I know how to do the thing. And then you are too proud or too shy to ask for like assistance. That is a figured out concept. Like, if you can crack the code of understanding that you're not on this journey alone, and that you can like go to people who will assist you, who will help you, who will give you fresh perspective. And that is going to give you new motivation to move forward and feel like you got this shit figured out, right? You're going to do it. Who are you asking? Your fellow adults. Your fellow adults who also feel like they don't have their shit figured out. So you're going to the person who also does not have thing in their mind. Nobody, guys, I don't know no one. I don't know anybody who feels like they know what they're doing. Let's start there. And if somebody's like, I know what I'm doing and I'm confident in what I'm doing. Hey, man, kudos to you. I want some of that juice that you've been sipping, because I know that every single adult person that I've spoken to has no idea of what they're doing, and have no idea of what or how they're going to end up, right? But I think that most importantly, instead of us focusing, right? Wait, I need to see something. Right. Instead of us focusing so hard on the idea that, or let's do this. Let's be proactive, right? Because we've ranted, we've vented, we've said things that make sense and they don't make sense and all of that stuff. Okay? First things first, what to focus on, what to do when you feel the pressure of having things figured out, right? First thing, chomi, friend, amigo, mon ami, my friend. Recognize that you are not the only person who feels that way. Most adults, most grown-ups feel like they don't have their stuff figured out. Okay? Most adults feel like they're walking around in circles, that they're just stuck in a loop and they're just getting by. And the truth is, we all are just getting by with the best that we can. So, leave this pressure or this idea that you should have things figured out. You don't have to have things figured out. Okay? That's number one. So, you don't have to have things figured out. Just remember that just as you are here sitting like, oh my God, the world is falling apart. I don't know what to do. I don't have my life in order. You know? So am I. So is your friend. So is your mother. So is your father. As is your child. As is your sister. So is your brother. As is the policeman that stops you for your money. As is the firefighter. As well as the cashier. As well as the doctor. Even the astronaut who touches the stars knows fuck all of what they are doing, other than the fact that if they push a button, the rocket dispatches and then it goes into the space and then it comes back. But when you ask that astronaut, hey, are you whatever? But for the most part, I guarantee that most people who you think have it all figured out are stuck in the exact same loop that you are in. Number two, don't succumb to the pressure of having it all figured out before you know what you want figured out. What do you want to figure out? Don't tell me I want to figure out this life thing. There's no such thing. This life thing, you wake up, you breathe, you eat, you fart, you sleep, repeat. That's life. There is nothing special until you die. Do you understand? Outside of that, it's all choice. To an extent, right? Yes, there are circumstances, there are situations that we are thrown into that are outside of our control. But for as long as you are within the control, outside of wake up, breathe, fart, sleep till you die, whether you feed yourself, that's within your control to an extent, right? Depending on the circumstances of your life. You know? Whether you eat healthy, that's within your control. Whether you exercise, that's within your control. Whether you hustle for a job, that's within your control. Whether you don't hustle for a job, whether you smoke, whether you drink, hey man, that's all up to you. So, what is it that in between the waking up, the breathing, the fighting, the sleeping till you die, in between there, what do you want to do? What do you want to figure out? What do you want? What would get you to a point where you're like, I have arrived. I have it all figured out. I've learned all the lessons that I needed to learn. I have gone through all the challenges that I needed to challenge. I understand this trajectory so well I can write a book about how I have it all figured out. What is that thing? Once you have figured out, decided, right? Because figuring out is now becoming just such a boring term, right? But once you have decided what you want, right? And you're like, okay, I'm not alone in the figuring out this thing, but this is the thing that I want, right? Now that you know what you want, what are the things that you need to do, the actionable steps that you need to take in order for you to achieve the thing that you want, in order for you to get to the place that you want to be at? What are those things that you need to do? Oh, I want to lose weight. You want to exercise? You're going to eat healthy. You're going to take care of your health. You're going to go for your daily checkups at the doctor. Oh, I want to make money. Okay, you're going to do cold calls. You're going to do this. Are you going to sharpen your skills? Hey, whatever it is that you need to do within the bounds of the law. If you want to be outside of the bounds of the law, amen. I'm not here to tell you what's good, what's bad, and who's right and who's wrong. That's up to you. My advice is to work within the bounds of the law. For you to get to where you want to be, then you gotta do those things. Do those things. Do you see that already? You're not even focused on Mang has this, that has that. Nobody has nothing, Baba. You need to figure out what you want and what you need to do in order for you to be where you want to be or to get what you want to get. Okay? So, number one, you are not alone. I am here with you. I feel the pressure that I also need to have my things figured out. So, you are not alone. So, it's up to you what you do with that information. Number two, decide what you want or where you want to be. Number three, figure out the things that you need to do to get to where you want or to where you want to be. Number four, don't compare yourself to nobody, because comparison is the stealer of joy. And because you are comparing, you are making assumptions. And assumptions are the mother of all fuck-ups. So don't make assumptions about why people are where they are or where they want to be or whatever, or compare yourself to the rest. Don't do that. Again, remember number one, we all don't know what we're doing. But once you figure out what you want and you focus on the things that you need to do to get to where you want to be at, don't look at the others and compare yourselves to them, or look at the others and make assumptions about how they got there. You know, there's nothing I hate more than this thing that people do when they see people like, oh, okay, their business is succeeding or suddenly they're successful. They sold themselves. They sold their souls to the devil, or I don't like that. Don't make assumptions. Don't make assumptions. Focus on what you need to do to get to where you want to be. Don't make assumptions of what people did, because you know what's going to happen. You're going to convince yourself that the only way to get to where you want to be is to do those wicked things. And then either you're not going to do anything and be lazy and then point fingers at others and say that they're wicked people, or you're going to become a wicked person yourself. So don't look at other people's points of success or whatever and then think that you have it figured out on their behalf, or you know how they got there. Because if you know how they got there, who said then why don't you do what they did to get there, right? Because now you've assumed that the only way to get there is through wickedness. There's no such thing. There's no such thing. Plan your strategy, plan your trajectory, decide where you want to be, what you want to be, and work on that. Don't make assumptions about other people's successes or other people's pathways. You don't know shit. Until somebody tells you and shows you, then don't assume. Do you understand? And then, number 5. Wait, we said number 1? You are not alone. We are all here under pressure. We all think that we don't know what we are doing. Number two, but we first need to decide what we want. Once we've decided what we want, we focus on number three, which is to figure out the trajectory of what we need to do in order for us to get to where we want to be. Number four, don't make assumptions. Don't compare yourself to others, because you're going to make assumptions that are going to hold you back. You're going to make assumptions that are going to lead you down a path of wickedness, and you're going to become a jealous Nancy, and you're just going to sit there and snout and feel like you don't have things figured out. They figured out that the wickedness is what gets them there, and it's not true. Okay? Number five, okay, and final point is that once you get there, tell me if you still feel once you've arrived to where you want to be, tell me if you if you feel better, and I guarantee you you're gonna get there and you're gonna be like, bruh, I don't know what I'm doing, bruh. I just got here by pure luck. You even start to consider yourself lucky, because you'll be like, I have no idea how these things just came forward. Okay. So all this to say that, my friend, I don't have it figured out. You don't have it figured out. We're not gonna have it figured out, for the mere fact that, like, you know, Easter changes every year, you know? Like, things are just not figured out in jail. Like, you know, we can't have, like, in a solid say, like, Easter is on the 12th of April. No, it's not. It's on the 5th of March now, of April. Or next year it's going to be 28th of March. You know, I don't know, man. So don't feel like you are under pressure here. Don't allow people to make you feel less than. And don't allow yourself to fall under pressure. The pressure of, I need to have my things figured out, because if I don't, then I'm falling behind. Look at my peers. You don't know what your peers are going through. Your peers might have the things that you think you want, and then they're crying. A lot of people, guys, are where they are just by pure luck. Other people are there because of hard work. Other people are there because of, like, bad decisions. Other people are there because they've made good decisions. When I'm saying somebody's there because they've made bad decisions, some people are in debt and they're living in their dream house. Do you want to be that guy? If you want to be that guy, go ahead. Make yourself a scout and live in your dream house. Some people are in debt and they're living in their dream. They're driving their dream. That's up to you. Do you understand? Nobody can tell you how to run your life. Therefore, do not succumb to this idea that we are all under pressure into knowing what we are doing. Nobody knows what they're doing. But one thing is true. We all have dreams. We all have hopes. We all have aspirations. We all have promises that we've made to ourselves. We all have commitments that we've made to ourselves and our loved ones. And we want to fulfill those. So whatever you got to do, focus. Focus, friend. Figure out where you want to end up. Then work on your trajectory. And keep in mind that your time frame needs to encompass disappointments. It needs to encompass setbacks. It needs to encompass just change of heart. All of that is a part of this thing. So now you changed your mind and you're like, I don't know what I want. No, it's okay. You're just human. Remember, between waking up, breathing, farting, and sleeping until you die, everything else is within your control. Everything else is within your control. So focus on that. Focus on that. But don't ever think that you will ever get to a point where you have this figured out. My friend, never. Nobody knows what they're doing, because we are all freelancing, Baba. We are all freelancing. So that is it for me for today. Thank you for entertaining me and for listening to my rambles. I apologize. It's a little bit of like in a messy episode again, but I am just, I'm just speaking. So if you guys have topics and ideas or concepts that you want me to sit here and philosophize and discuss, let me know. I'm open. I'll sit on them for like a good week. I'll think about it, and then I'll come and I'll talk about it. So this week I spoke to you about the pressures of adulthood, of having it all figured out during your adulthood. So to say that, my friend, you're not alone. We are all here together. Figure out what you want. Once you figured out what you want, work on the trajectory to help you get to where you want to be. Don't compare yourselves to the rest. And then when you get there, you'll realize, my friend, that you will never, ever have this whole thing figured out. Anyways, I love you. Thank you. Again, remember to share, like, and subscribe, especially the like, and watch and share with your people. Okay, guys, because this is the year of growth. This is the year of momentum. Okay, 2026, we're doing this thing. I love you. Please be kind to one another and don't be a piece of shit, because we're all going through shit and we don't need another piece of shit to make our lives worse. So thank you. I love you. And I'll see you again on the other side. Bye.